This is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association, located at 1601 East 18th Street, Suite 200F.
What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Today's special segment is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association. We are filming today in the Lincoln Building right here in the heart of the 18th and Vine Jazz District. Today's special guest is Kansas State Senator, District 4 Region, Senator David Haley. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Glenn.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on in Wyandotte County. Is that the area you represent?
I'm pleased to represent Wyandotte County, the good people of Wyandotte County, Kansas, which includes all of Kansas City, Kansas. And we have a very exciting time right now because there's a new infusion to our county general fund, $12 million coming back into our county general fund from the star bonds that are finally maturing for the Legends, Village West, where the Speedway is. In addition to that, there'll be another $1 million coming from the Hollywood Casino, which did not build a hotel and is now required to pay that $1 million. So $13 million additional dollars from Wyandotte County in our next fiscal year, 2017 fiscal year, is a great opportunity for more people to include greater civic protection, police and fire, public education opportunities that could be enhanced at the local level, and as always, to ensure that cost of living is met all across the board and that our property taxes and our utility costs are lowered.
You mentioned property tax. Mayor Mark Holland of Kansas City, Kansas, he held a, listening session in May. That was one of the concerns that people voiced, as well as infrastructure concerns.
The mayor has been proactive.
Do you work kind of with the mayor?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm independent of any other advocate, and that I'd like to work hand in glove. And when they rise, we all rise together, and when they fall, or when we fall apart.
Interesting.
And the highs and lows of any administration, this mayor, the last mayor, the next mayor, really is every tub, if you will, Glenn, stands on its own bottom. There have been some successes. However, I'm hoping that the mayor will be more responsive in understanding that these allocation of resources might be best served when diversified throughout our county and not consolidated into certain pockets that have traditionally participated in largesse. At this point in time, these listening sessions, the town hall meetings, which are tremendous opportunities, and I do applaud the mayor for holding them. I think that the fruit will be born from these sessions that hopefully will reflect broader inclusion, more people, especially who, again, have not always been the beneficiary when we run into windfalls, like the economic empowerment zone, which we had several years ago. The community didn't participate. When Kansas City, Missouri,
Really?
at that time, because of the leadership of then Mayor Cleaver, saw the Harley Davidson factory come into place and put in place that he ensured that there would be certain hires or certain jobs filled from within the empowerment zone enhanced community. We haven't seen that mentality yet fully expressed. It's been expressed but not really lived up to yet in Kansas City, Kansas by our leadership, and I'm hoping we'll break from that with this new mayor who has started with the town hall meetings.
And we've talked to Mayor Holland here before on the show. Senator Haley, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the controversy regarding Secretary of State Chris Kobach removing names from the voting log. He's removing names of people who have not completed their voter registration. People who are against this, saying this is voter suppression, that there's an inadequate number of people who do not have citizen, their names are being removed, and that can hurt a candidate's potential to run and get elected to office. What do you think about the whole thing?
It's a key issue, and the only fraud that's being perpetrated here is by the Secretary of State, Chris Kobach. That's the fraud. I hope and I know that anyone that's tuned in and watching What's Up Kansas City already realizes how hard fought the games to register and to vote are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure of that. I feel that in my heart. And wouldn't you agree?
Oh yes, it's a voting right
And
acts of 1965 and the 2000 election. We fought hard to make gains, and we
and,
can't go back now on it.
and now to see that we don't always vote 100%
Mm-hmm.
from within those previously disaffected communities is a slap in the face and adds to, I guess, the ammunition that now we see the Secretary of State heaping on us. In other words, sometimes we have them to blame when they say one must have, for example, to register to vote, as Secretary Kobach is saying, a birth certificate to register to vote, which, by the way, the court has struck down temporarily. And then at the same time, those who have presented and do have registration don't bother to go to the polls every time.
It's going to start a lot of complaints, but then the rhetorical question comes up: well, what are you going to do about it? We have a lot of political pundits on the radio saying that African Americans are never again going to turn out and vote like they did this first time around when we voted and put President Barack Obama into office. What can you do? Well, Senator Haley, I don't want to brush over that, but
Well, there's some places where voting is compulsory, and I would almost like to implement that unless you have an excuse or you just want to choose none of the above, and none of the above can be a vote, but that everyone would have to cast their vote once registered to vote, or if you don't want to vote, just don't register. Don't waste the body politics time. When people call our office, I always move first on the registered voters. I always move first on those who always, I'm not saying you have to vote for me, but you have to express yourself. If you want to utilize the voice that you're calling the office of for some response, the only price you have to pay is to take every so often the time to cast the vote.
wow, yes, yes. Definitely get out there and vote. Now, I understand that the legislative session is over. I guess a new one's going to start in January sometime.
The second Monday in January of every year by Kansas Constitution.
So are you enjoying your time off, Senator Haley?
And we're working hard. There's some interim projects, interim committees. We're looking now at certain legislation that hasn't passed. I've been a strong proponent, for example, when body cameras for all law enforcement officers. Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County have already implemented them. But my concern is to protect the smaller communities in Kansas as well, and the officers that serve there. Body cameras work on behalf of the law enforcement officers who are wrongfully charged. Body cameras work on behalf of the constituency that was set upon that need not be. And they're just good all around. And it's a policy that not only is the Justice Department supporting, Kansas City, Kansas just got a $350,000 grant from Washington and DOJ to make sure they're all implemented. And it's the retention of the data and also the privacy issues that are being overcome. And here now in the interim of the session, I'm working with our interim committees to craft legislation that's fit well in other states and will fit best for all Kansans. Also, I'm working with the medical marijuana issue.
Is that
It did
uphill
pass.
battle?
It shouldn't be. 31 states now have some form of medical marijuana, Glenn, and the District of Columbia, which should be the 51st state, as many people feel, and one of them who feels stated for the district is appropriate. And we need to have medical marijuana in Kansas. Missouri has made great strides, as you know, already with that. The city of Wichita has decriminalized small amounts of marijuana possession amount, so it's almost tantamount first offense to getting a speeding ticket. All of that is of the mindset that we know a benign substance that grows naturally should not be criminalized, and leading to a disproportionate number of people, usually poor and or minorities, who are incarcerated sometimes. This being the gateway to
so
that
smoking
incarceration.
marijuana is not. I'm not exhibiting deviant behavior and threat to myself and society for doing it.
I think if carefully regulated and one knows oneself, I believe that less so than tobacco, less so than more than a couple of drinks a day, that marijuana is less harmful to the body or to society as a whole. We've often said that I'd rather have a stoned driver driving behind me than a drunk driver. Also it's more peaceful. From what I understand, the impact of marijuana produces a euphoria that's more laden with peace or relaxation, as opposed to the counter positive that alcohol brings. So, for many reasons, the tax benefits, Colorado has recognized 70 million that Colorado has raised in revenue. Kansas is stressed very hard for revenue right now, and so I'm pushing for medical marijuana. I'm pushing for body cameras here in the interim session, even though we don't go back for another few weeks.
Now, in your legislative update on Wyandotte Daily Online, this was posted in January of 2015. You also are on the record for individual rights, personal freedoms for all Kansans, and advocate for law-abiding citizens to have rights to privacy and to remain unencumbered by government. One of your goals for this legislative session was to plug systemic gaps in income and social inequity. When I read that, I kind of thought about like 1984, the book that I read in college, where we talked about, you know, the proletarian and the bourgeois lifestyle, and, you know, government choosing which one you were going to, and, you know, that's just so anti, you know, private citizenship. So what are our barriers? You know, I go to college, you know, I put in the time and the work. Why can't I, you know, be part of whatever type of social class I want to be? You know, do I need to be encumbered by, you know, what my parents did or my grandparents or whatever? What are the barriers to social equality, as you see it, Senator Haley?
That's a broad teleological question, my Howard University brother, that I hope that we could begin to answer. It's a very good question. It's an excellent question. What does it take? And there actually have been everything from job fair to training fairs to talk about what is the impact of certain education, and that education where it's garnered. As someone who has a daughter right now in college and I'm paying tuition all the time, I look at, well, frankly, return on investment.
What school?
I mean, she attends Wellesley outside of Boston. My son plans to go to Morehouse, my alma mater, and then of course maybe finish in school at Howard.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ambition.
But to answer the question is a difficult one. We don't have, as a society yet, the answer to the question. What is the foundation that makes job preparedness academic / the willingness or the attitude that one brings to an employer, and then the longevity of that employment? I mean, it's difficult to project.
It's different now.
What's going to be the job security of the future a few years from now or a decade from now? When we were coming along, it was probably less so, but technology and a shrinking world through the internet and other technology makes a more competitive world. So I don't have the answer to the question. I don't know. I wish I could, or I'd say to my daughter that perhaps she should hone in on that and refresh her skills, her interpersonal and interactive skills to push away a little bit more from the personal digital, the personal phone that we have, the smartphone, and spend more time in interaction. But who knows? She might be on the right path in keeping her phone handy. I don't know the answer to the question, but it's certainly something I join you in thinking about quite a bit.
Now, Senator Haley, you've also, during the 2015 session, you made mention that you were going to focus on hate or bias crime sentencing enhancement. I know that Arthur Malcolm Gladwell was on the radio not too long ago, and he talked about that there was really a following, a cult following of these hate crimes and massive crimes that take place on school property that kind of dates back to Columbine, a following on the internet where, you know, that not necessarily the first couple of people could be called psychotic or insane, but it's gotten to the point where it's almost normal for some people to get on the internet and get inspired to commit these type of crimes that take place like almost every week now. I mean, it's crazy. Is that also an uphill battle to enhance the crimes, and do you think, I mean, not enhance the crimes, but enhance the sentencing, and do you think, Senator Haley, that sentence enhancement will ultimately prevent more of these crimes from taking place?
As you know, as Kansas City,
and not just on school property.
Yeah, yeah. As you know, we had And what inspired me to I first brought up the hate crimes legislation over a decade ago. And then most recently after what happened on the Jewish community, or in the Jewish community in Johnson County, where a deranged, avowed racist, whose name I won't say, took it upon himself to think that he was shooting and killing those of the Jewish faith. They didn't happen to be, they all happened to be of another faith. But the only motivation, and we have to understand what hate crime is, the only motivation is that there's a perception of a difference between the actor and the victim. And that would then be, because no one is safe in that case. I mean, people running around deranged in their delusion in a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multifaceted society, that they suddenly have a beef with someone who they perceive as different. They're a different gender from me, or a different religion, or different race or culture, so I'm going to take it upon myself to repress them, if not do them harm, then in fact to kill them. That kind of thinking should be, I think, in my mind, should be punished more harshly by the state to protect all of us.
Now, Senator Haley, I have maybe some more material that I'd like to cover, so we might have to do a part 2. But I would like to ask you, you're also for the minimum wage increase, and I know that Missouri has come up against some roadblocks. What is Kansas? Where is Kansas on the increase, $2 more an hour?
Well, there have been different amounts that that have been proposed in terms of what that amount, or what amount would be a living wage. Well, there's never been, I don't think I've ever specified what the increase should be, but we know that the current minimum wage is one that is barely livable for most individuals, to say nothing of head of household and family. So we need to increase to ensure that someone who's putting in a full-time job 40+ hours a week is able to provide not only for themselves but for their family. And what that amount is, of course, is going to differ, but we certainly want to ensure that we have that in Kansas, as far as I'm concerned, nationally.
Okay, well, Senator Haley, we are going to wrap right now, but we're going to come right back and talk to you a little bit more about your current challenges and what you hope to accomplish during the next session. I'm Glenn Brian Frizzell. Thank you for joining us on What's Up Kansas City. Check out more video online. Tune in for part 2.
Thank you, Glenn.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.